Good day everyone, I am Donnalyn for Gemino from Bsed English 2B, and I'm going to report the types of assessment. Types of assessment tools. Assessment data can be collected and recorded by both the teacher and the students in a variety of ways. Through observation of students and in interviews or conferences with students, teachers can discover much about their students' knowledge, abilities, interests, and needs. When a number of assessment tools are used in conjunction with one another, richer and more in-depth data collection results. Whatever method of data collection is used, teachers should first meet with students regularly to discuss their progress. Second, adjust rating criteria as learners change and progress. The first types of assessment tools is the observation. Observation occurs during students' daily reading, writing, listening, and speaking experiences. It is an unobtrusive means by which teachers and students can determine their progress during learning. An example of observation is the watching of Halley's Comet. An example of observation is making the statement that a teacher is proficient from watching him teach several times. Observation provides the opportunity to monitor or assess a process or situation and document evidence of what is. Seeing actions and behaviors within a natural context or as they usually occur provides insights and understanding of the event, activity, or situation being evaluated. The second types of assessment tools is the anecdotal records. Anecdotal records are notes written by the teachers regarding student language, behavior, or learning. They document and describe significant daily events and relevant aspects of student activity and progress. This note can be taken during student activities or at the end of the day. One example of anecdotal record is to write Autumn ran up to her friend and give her a hug, instead of Autumn was excited when she saw her friend. This next video is called Video Anecdotal Records. Anecdotal records are a very useful tool for going basis during instructions and evaluating the products of their instructions. Keeping anecdotal records on a regular basis can enhance a teacher's classroom observation. Third types of assessment tools is the portfolios. Portfolios are personalized long-term documentation of student mastery of course material. One essential element of portfolios is student reflection on their own learning and progression towards the mastery of the material documented in the portfolio. Examples of work products include collections of students' essay, artwork, lab reports, or reading logs. They allow a student to demonstrate his or her ability to perform a particular skill. A portfolio assessment is a collection of students' work that are associated with standards you are required to learn. This work is often gathered over a long period of time to reflect as well as there are types of portfolios. In order to be useful as assessment tools, the portfolio should include entries that demonstrate a progression of student understandings and ultimately mastery of the concepts. Hopa and Friend in 2000 identified two different portfolio types. The first one is the all-inclusive portfolios. When we say all-inclusive portfolios, it contains a complete record of all works done by a student in a course or program. Then the second is the selection portfolios. Selection portfolios are focused on documenting the achievement of mastery of specific course goals and objectives set by the course instructor. Fourth type assessment tools is the checklist. A checklist is a tool for identifying the presence or absence of conceptual knowledge, skills, or behaviors. Checklists are used for identifying whether key tasks in a procedure, process, or activity have been completed. An example of a checklist is when you have 10 things to do for work and you make a list of all of them and you check them off as you accomplish each of them. A checklist is the less complex form of scoring that examines the presence or absence of specific elements in the performance. All elements are generally weighted the same and gradations or quality are typically not So the fifth types of assist tools is the rubrics. Rubrics uses a set of criteria to evaluate a student's performance. They consist of fixed measurement scale and detailed description of the characteristics for each level of performance. These descriptions focus on the quality of the product of performance and not the quantity. Example, not number of paragraph. Examples to support an idea, spelling errors. For example, a rubric for an essay might tell students that their work will be judged on purpose, organizations, details, voice, and mechanics. So, a rubric is an assessment tool that maps the criteria for assignment completion against standards for success. So, rubrics help to address the specific components skill. So, the six types of assessment tools is the rating scales. Rating scales allow teachers to indicate the degree or frequency of the behaviors, skills, and strategies displayed by the learner. Rating scales state the criteria and provide 3 of 4 response selection to describe the quality or frequency of student work. Teaching students to use descriptive words such as always, usually, sometimes, and never helps them pinpoint specific strengths and needs. Example, the most common example of rating scale is the Likert scale and 1 to 10 rating scale. For instance, when you visit an online shopping site and it asks you to rate your shopping experience, such type of questions and choice of option is called rating scale. So, a rating scales incorporates quality to the elements in the process or product which can be or descriptive. So, unlike checklists, rating scales allow for attaching quality to elements in the process or product. The 7 types of assessment tools is the speaking and listening. Checklist, rating scales, and anecdotal notes used throughout the lesson can provide information about the student's oral progress. Oral presentations and incidental observations provide opportunities to gather information about students' listening and speaking abilities. Speaking or listening may be more heavily emphasized depending upon the particular unit or activities. Teachers, possibly in collaboration with their student, will determine the way that the unit will be evaluated. However, it is important that the students know from the beginning how they will be assessed and evaluated. For example, say you were listening to a report on zebras and the speaker mentioned that no two are alike. If you can repeat the fact, then you have heard what has been said. Understanding. The next part of listening happens when you take what you have heard and understand in your own way. The 8 types of assessment tools, the interviews and conferences. Teacher student interviews or conferences are productive means of assessing individual achievements and needs. During these discussions, teachers can discover students' perceptions of their own process and products of learning. So, interviewing and conferencing as an assessment tool. So, assessment in a classroom is a strategy by teachers to evaluate the students' response. Teacher gathers information while interpreting the evidence in trying to understand and make judgments about the student. So the 9 types of assessment tools is the projects and presentations. Criteria should be developed or discussed with the students at the outset of activities such as written reports, visual representations, oral representations, or projects which combine use and understanding. Teachers may assess the attitudes, skills development, knowledge, or learning processes demonstrated by students as they engage in language activities. Data gathered during student activities can be recorded as anecdotal records on checklist rating scales or by using a combination of the use. Example, a presentation convey information from a speaker to an audience. Presentations are typically demonstrations, introduction, lecture, or speech meant to inform, persuade, inspire, motivate, build goodwill, or present a new idea or product. Presentations in certain formats are also known as keynote address. So, a project assessment is an end-to-end analysis of a project scope, variables, objectives, and impacts. So it is also involves assessing the project stakeholders, risks, timeline, and impact. So the last types of assessment tools is the quizzes, tests, and examinations. Exams, tests, and quizzes are the classic assessment tool used in education. Constructing a well-designed test, however, can be challenging. Simply put, a quiz, test, and examination refers to a tool, technique, or a method that is intended to measure students' knowledge or their ability to complete a particular task. So in this sense, testing can be considered as a form of assessment. Tests should meet some basic requirements such as validity and